We have a good segment for you on the RealtyHack podcast here. Anthony Lamacchia is one of the best speakers you'll ever meet. He's talking about how to handle buyers, how to handle sellers, how to ask for price adjustments, how to manage time. We had him on the very first RealtyHack Summit 3 years ago, and we recently had him back in January. And this is a recording of that event. It's a long one. It's great. This is some of the best advice for real estate agents you're going to get. Special thanks to Capital Title, our preferred title company and sponsor of the show, as well as Blended Sense, who's responsible, by the way, for all the video you see of these amazing speakers that we've been posting and we are posting.
What type of person are you going to be? Are you going to be one of these people that sits here on your phone, takes notes, goes, oh, that's a great idea. You make a note or two or three, you forget them, and you don't do jack shit? That's what most people do that come to real estate events. What kind of person will you be? Which one? Are you going to be the one that takes notes and actually does it? Or takes notes and completely forgets about it? I'm going to talk to all of you and you guys decide what you want to do. But I can promise you this, by the time I'm done, you'll have things that you can put in place right away that'll change your business and will improve things. The first thing that I want to do, I normally tell this story toward the end of my keynotes, but 2 weeks ago I told it at the beginning and I noticed it had a different impact, so I'm going to tell you now. We have an agent in our company, Genevieve Botello. She's been with us 11 years. Single mom, 2 teenage girls, one of our President's Club elite agents, selling over 50 homes a year, bought a house on her own, been very successful. But it didn't start that way. July 8th, 2018, she sent me an email. July 5th. It matters in my head for a reason. July 5th, 2018, she sends me an email. Frustrated, says the subject. I'm so frustrated, and then she's going on and on. My business is up 1 month, down another month, up 1 month, down another month. And I replied and I said, yeah, I'm frustrated too. Because you have more talent in your pinky than most agents do in their whole body. But for some reason, you can't stay consistent. You can't stay disciplined. So we met a few days later, and at that time of the year, she had 5 sales closed and 3 sales pending. And we met for lunch. And I said, you could make President's Club this year. She said, what are you, crazy? To make President's Club, I have to have 33 homes closed by the end of the year. Right now I have 5 and 3 pending. I said, I understand that, and I just told you could make it. So if you're willing to commit and do the things that I tell you to do, I can guarantee you'll make it. Okay, what do I need to do? I said, number 1, we're going to have a call every single Friday for 12 minutes. And I'm going to give you specific to-dos. And you're going to be held accountable. And if you don't do what I ask you, I'm not going to keep doing it. I'm not going to ask you to do anything that can't be done. I'm not going to ask you to do anything that hasn't been done. But you need to do what I tell you. That was in July. By the 3rd week of our coaching calls, pay attention here, she would answer the phone and she would say, this is every Friday, I have 5 appointments booked for next week. I have 3 appointments booked for next week. And she would say that right when I called her and she answered. And it's because I got her to take her focus from all the stupid shit the realtors spend their time doing all day, which is money wasting, time wasting activities. And I deferred her attention to money making activities. And one of the things that we focused on every week was, how many new business appointments do you have set up for the next week, every single week by Saturday night? And I said, at this time of year, if you don't have a minimum of 5 new business appointments, when I say new business, just someone you've never met before. I've never met you, right? You seem lovely. Never met her. That would count as 1. Meet her to show her a house. Meet her to see her house to list it. Meet you for something else, right? 5 every single week, and you need to have the 5 booked by Saturday night for the next week. So really that ends up being 6 or 7. And I said, that needs to be your focus. So immediately her sales started improving and we started working on several other things each week. I didn't bombard her the first week with 100 to-dos or she would have no time. But we talked about a couple of small things. One of the things that we talked about is her improving on, time management, but let me jump ahead for a second. Her improving on growing her database, marketing to her database. I said, you've got 10 years of past clients, you don't talk to any of them. So each week I said, add 10 new contacts to the database. Just 10. How hard is that? That way every month they're getting your monthly newsletter. And I said, each week, you need to call 20 people in your cell phone. Hello, how are you? Checking in. Hey, you bought the house for me. You said you were going to put a big screened-in porch on the back. Did you actually do it? Each week, I want you to go visit 2 or 3 people that you sold a home to in the past, or people that are in your sphere of influence when you're in their neighborhood. So every single week, add contacts to the database. Make calls to people in your phone and check in, including past clients. And it was 20 a week. 3 or 4 Popeyes visits. Brian Buffini talks about that. Any Brian Buffini fans in here? Great by referral trainer. Three times a week, visit people. Okay? Especially those past clients, get in touch with them. In addition to that, I talked to her about getting on leads, because when you're on leads, you have at-bats, and you need at-bats in this business. So you see, one of the problems with agents, and we all got our problems, I got mine too, right? But one of the things that agents do is they expect a lead. Hello? Hi, I'm looking for a home. I'm pre-approved. I have enough money to put down. I don't have a realtor. I'm ready to buy. I want to buy this weekend. Who does that? Does any consumer do that? Have you guys ever done that when you went to buy a car? Did you walk in the door and go, wow, this is an amazing car. I'll buy this for the price that's on the window? No. But for some reason, realtors think that a consumer should behave that way, and no consumers behave that way whatsoever. So we talked about that, and I said, get back on leads. When you started with me in 2014, you were receiving leads. So we put all these little things in place, all these little things, and each week we did it. Then we got to the first week in September. She answered the phone. I only have 2 appointments booked. This is Friday morning. I only have 2 appointments booked, and there's no way I'm going to get to 5. I have this going on. I have that going on. I was away for 2 days. So I listened, and I said, well, let me make sure there's not a real reason here to not get to 5. I heard her out, and I said, you need to get to 5. She says, Anthony, but this, but that. But I said, Genevieve, if I said to you that the girls couldn't have dinner tomorrow night, if you knew your girls couldn't have dinner tomorrow night on Saturday night unless you had 5 appointments, what would happen? She said, I'd get 7. I said, great, get 7. She texted me Saturday night, I have 6 appointments booked. I said, thank you. That was the beginning of September. First week in December, Genevieve makes President's Club. 33 sales closed. By the end of the year, she closes 37 sales. In only 1 year has she had less than 50 sales since. So if you're not already following her on Instagram, you should. It's Genevieve Botello, B-O-T, I don't know how to spell the rest. I can't spell shit. But that's someone that you can learn from. And what changed? What did she do differently? Well, what she did differently is she managed her time. I wanted to go back one. How do I go back one? Because I want to show you some time management stuff. She learned to manage her time correctly. That is the single biggest issue that agents have once they get up and running and actually selling. See, in our society today, it's become cool to be busy. Hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm so busy. I'm busy. Oh, my God, I got so much going on. I want to start saying to people, oh, I'm really slow. Anthony, how are you? Oh, slow. I got nothing to do. Because I just want to, go against the grain. So, but when you actually break down what a typical realtor does in a day, oh, I had to go run a check over here. Oh, I had to go over there. And then the best thing that drives me up the freaking wall, we have Wednesday trainings at our company, right? Every Wednesday. Oh, I couldn't make it to training because I had a closing. Really? What do you do at a closing? What does a realtor do at a closing? Handhold, do nothing. I remember sitting there when I started in the business. This is what I did at a closing. Ready? Do you want me to get that copy? Okay. And I'd run and make a copy. And then I started realizing, what in the hell am I going to these closings for? There's nothing for me to do there. Right, we're an attorney state in Massachusetts. Attorneys close deals. So guess what I started doing? Planning correctly, making sure that all parties were on the same page. A couple of days leading up to the closing, I would check with everyone. And then I'd tell the client, I don't go to the closing. There's nothing for me to do there. My work is essentially done. You're in good shape. You're all prepared. If something comes up, let me know. The other thing that I did is I started working with attorneys, and then we went into New Hampshire, title companies that would get power of attorney so that my sellers didn't even have to go. Because I found when the sellers didn't go, nobody questioned me. Right? And then how much time did I add back in my day when I did that? Think about that. So at that time, when I stopped going, I was probably 30, 40 sales a year. So if you're a typical agent, let's say you're doing 20 closings a year. Let's say you skip 15 of them, because it won't work on everyone. I remember having an elderly client. I met her there. I helped her out of the car. Well, okay, there's exceptions. But let's say you don't attend 15 closings out of your 20 a year. How many hours does that save you for each one? For me, it was about 3 hours. By the time I drove to the registry in those days, they signed, someone was late, there was an attorney late, they never said sorry because attorneys think they're great and everybody waits for them, right? By the time I got back to actually working and doing dollar productive activities, it was a 3-hour ordeal. So 15 sales, let's say you're a typical agent, 15 sales, 3 hours, bang. There's 45 hours in a year that you save with closings. What about seller home inspections? What do you need to go to those for? You don't need to. You don't need to. There's nothing for you to do there. Let them go in, let them do their thing. But same thing, in advance, send an email, explain what's going on, explain why you're not there. Explain that the inspector will likely show up early. Explain that the inspector's job is to find something wrong with the home. Explain that when they get home, there might be a closet that's out of whack or a couple of lights on. So we started explaining all this stuff in the emails. Bang, I wasn't going to inspections. There was 4 hours. 4 hours times 15 inspections a year. Now there's 60 hours. 60 plus 45, now I'm at 105. What about delivering checks? Oh, I got to go deliver a check. I got to deliver an agreement, whatever the hell it is. All these stupid little errands that people do, right? And I know they vary market to market. You start adding this up. If I keep going in this exercise, which I don't have time to do because that would be a 2-hour keynote in itself, folks, I could put 200 hours back in your schedule in the next 20 minutes. 200 hours, that's what, 5 weeks a year on a normal work week? I mean, I don't work that. I work 40 by Wednesday night. But normal people work 40 hours, so I hear, right? So that's 5 weeks a year that I just put back in your schedule. And what you need to do is you reapply that time to dollar productive activities. Calling clients. See, the things that you need to focus on are negotiating contracts, showing homes when people are ready to actually make moves, going on listing appointments. What else? Going to trainings. Hell, you're all here, right? So you guys clearly are a step above the average agent who's worried about paying $50 or something to get in here, which is ridiculous. But you add those things, you do those things in a compounded, disciplined manner. The dollar productive activities, the things that bring you business, and all of a sudden, within 6 or 8 weeks, your business snowballs. See, one of the reasons that many people, who will admit it, let's see a show of hands. One of the reasons that people get into real estate is freedom of schedule. I want to control my own schedule. Bullshit. You got the wrong business then, right? But how many people get in for that reason? Well, that reason is also the devil for many people. Because it's easy when you're home to get distracted, start doing laundry, start doing other things. I'll tell you something else that I do, and I caught myself yesterday on the ride to the airport. We had a little drama with something in the company, some legal issue that came up, and I left. There was a deposition. People stormed out. I walked out. I called my head of finance. I called my COO. All of a sudden, I got to the third phone call, and I looked at the clock, and I said, I've burnt the last 20 minutes on this. Enough. I hung up, and I started making dollar productive. You got to catch yourself. I literally was at 20 minutes. I see you laughing, but can you relate? 20 minutes I burned on this legal bullshit that doesn't do anything to make me money. So I said, I'm stopping myself. And I said, who am I going to call? What recruits do I need to call? What owners of companies do I need to call that we want to acquire their companies? And I immediately switched to that, and I did that for the rest of the ride to the airport. Because those are dollar productive. Those are the kinds of things that are going to attract business. So if you're interested in some of our time management videos on the Crush It in Real Estate website, download that QR code. It'll pop right up. Save it for later, and you can check out those videos if you didn't already. Next. Working by referral. I already touched on some of this. Some of those little things you can and should be doing with consistency. Adding people to your database every week, every day. It should be a continuous thing. I've been in the business my 21st year. I add people to my database every single week. I bring cards back from business trips. Some people here already gave me cards. If you give me a card, I guarantee you, you will get our newsletter the next time it goes out, which is tomorrow. You won't get it tomorrow. You'll get ours at the end of February, with all kinds of videos and things like this. A database is a living, breathing thing that you have to constantly feed and nurture. See, folks, we're very lucky to be in a business that everyone wants to hear about. Imagine being a plumber or a carpenter. Or an accountant. Do accountants show up at family parties and people go, hey, how's that new tax law? You know, imagine being a carpenter. They show up, hey, how's the new 2x4s? I heard they come out with a new type. No one does that. But what do people do to us? What do people do in our business when you show up at a party? How's the market? How's the market? How's the market? Folks, there's a never-ending desire to hear about the market. We're so fortunate to be in a business. And that's why I always preach, when you educate, you attract. See how that says Tomer up there? That's something that I've created all across New England. Top of mind awareness in real estate. How did I create that? Yes, I created it from billboards all over highways and television ads and everything else. But I'll tell you something. One of the biggest ways that I created top of mind awareness is educating. When you educate, you attract. If you're taking notes like she is, she's smart, I can tell she's taking notes, you should write down. Educate equals attraction. Do you think I'd be invited to be here today and paid what I'm paid and expenses and all that to come out here and speak if I was going to be like, hey, how you guys doing? No. But I educate, so when I educate with my videos and all the content that I put out on Instagram and YouTube and all these different things, that creates an attraction. When I'm speaking, that creates an attraction. I have two audiences. I have realtor audience, well, I have like 5 now, but realtor audience, consumer audience. Every single one of you should be doing that in your spheres of influence. Everybody's always talking about growing their sphere of influence, but very few realtors put focus into influencing their sphere. Joel was up here from Realtor.com earlier. He was showing some slides, and he was showing what's going on with the market. And obviously, Austin is similar to Florida, Texas, similar to Florida, where there actually is more inventory. And there's some properties sitting, and I'm going to spend time on that in a little while. We're going to talk about pricing, price adjustments, right? But to get yourself to the point of being able to go over pricing and sit across from a seller and get the right price, you might come on stage with me. We're gonna role play, and I'm going to get the right price. Would you be willing to do that with me? What's your name? Sasha, thank you. So in order to get yourself in a position to do that, you have to have top of mind awareness. You have to do things that draw people to you. Every single week, this time of year, minimum of 3 new business appointments every week by Saturday night. All those leads that you were in touch with in the fall that fell off, get back in touch with them. You get to March, 5 appointments a week. You do that all year, you'll sell 50 homes this year. Now, next subject I want to turn the page and talk about for a few minutes. You remember the slide that Joel had up here, and he was showing how there's, he's showing the whole country and how there's obviously less people selling because they're trapped in their homes, in this, when I say trapped, in their interest rate, right? Nobody wants to trade their 3% rate for a 7. Well, I'm wrong when I say nobody. It's not quite nobody, okay? One of the reasons that a lot of people have been holding back is they don't know where they're going to go, and they can't envision being able to sell where they are and move because they're like, well, where would I go? And they search online, they don't find the exact house they want, and they sit still. Or they end up speaking to an inexperienced realtor who doesn't understand the sell-by process, and they're not able to convert them. Pam, my friend Pam over there, one of the best relocation minds in America, she's close with our relocate. You guys know Pam Metzger? So she is very close with our relocation VP, Sarah. And Sarah, you don't know this, Pam, 2018 pulled me aside and she said, you know, I noticed something. I said, what's that? She said, when I get a lead that calls in and they're just selling and I give it to any of the agents that we have approved on seller leads, obviously some are better than others, but it's fine. They end up listing, they sell the home. She goes, but I noticed something. The sell buys, if I don't give them to more of the experienced agents, they never end up listing. I was listening to her and I'm like, And this is when I started really, really obsessing with the sell-by process. And I started realizing that agents were fumbling the ball and they were missing and losing opportunities because of what they said to sellers, oftentimes just on the phone or in a meeting. See, a sell-by process is very scary to a homeowner. And many agents don't even realize when they blow it, when they're on the phone or in front of a seller, because they don't give the seller comfort that, hey, you are not going to end up homeless. We're going to structure this in such a way that we can protect you from your home actually selling before you find the right home. And in some cases, you can list first or get totally ready to list and wait. And then when you see the home you want, jump on it, but have yours completely ready, pictures done, everything ready. And when you talk to sellers, and I'm going a little fast because I have a lot of subjects to cover, but when you talk to sellers about that and you explain and you show that you have a plan and you show them a web page like this one right here, wanttobesellers.com, and there's a whole sea of videos with me explaining every seller concern and every seller solution. We rolled that page out by April of 18. And guess what happened? Our sell-by leads went up. Our sell-by conversions to actual sales went up. All of our agents got better at dealing with it. Why? Because I created content and I educated. Okay? Then we also created this document. And we have this document in two fashions. So the sell-by roadmap is part of what is very concerning. It tackles what is very concerning to the sell-by prospect. And if you look closely at it, if they want to take the road of getting totally ready, but not actually listing their home, but getting their pictures and floor plans done, getting the MLS sheet completely built out and to the point that it's ready to hit post, or getting their pre-approval, or better yet, a pre-commitment, and then waiting until they find the right house. Now, when is there a good candidate for that? A good candidate for that is, hi, I want to sell, I want to buy, but I only want to live in those 6 streets. And you're like, shit, it might be a year or two before the right house comes up there. Okay, that type of prospect, they should get totally ready and wait. Because when you submit an offer on a home and you tell a seller, oh yeah, my buyer's going to list their home as soon as it's ready, as soon as you accept their offer, they're like, they are? But imagine when you submit an offer and you say, subject to the sale of buyer's home. However, here's the listing sheet already built out. Here's the pictures. Here's the comps in the neighborhood so you can see that we're pricing correctly. Here's their pre-commitment. Now you're instilling confidence, and that seller's thinking, shit, these people are ready. That's the road on the left side. Then the road on the right side is list, but list with protections. MLS disclosures, intent, or you could delay the closing. Maybe negotiate a rent back, make an offer, whatever. There's a whole bunch of options there, and I realize, there's like 4 people in here. But in our market, you can't disclose that way. Okay, I don't care. You get my point, okay? You get my overarching point of what I'm saying is there is solutions. And when you sit across from a seller and you pull that roadmap out and you say, look at this roadmap. Here's the choices. We go here, we go there. You're instilling confidence. As opposed to if you're just talking like I'm doing right now, but do you notice I'm talking, but I'm showing you stuff, right? Now you're instilling confidence and they're thinking, this is the person I want to hire. Then your conversion goes here to here. I love when I talk to agents and they go, well, I do really good once I actually meet with a client, but just meeting with them is tough. And I go, okay, great. How many appointments in the last year? They go through their calendar and they come back to me. I had 30 appointments. Great. How many did you convert? 12. Okay, you're not that great. You're not. You had 30 appointments, you should be right around 24, 23 take-ins, not 12. But it's the little things that you do along the way. So what we did is we created the sell-by roadmap, and we have 2 versions. We have the Lamakia Realty version, and we have a version for training customers. You all can download it right there. It'll get, you download it, put your email in, it'll get emailed right to you. Take the freaking Crush It logo off, put your logo on, and go nuts. Okay? And start using this stuff immediately. See, words matter. The way that you explain things to sellers and buyers matter. And let me tell you something. The buyer leads that you're getting, we have never been in a situation where more buyer leads are also sellers than we're in right now. Could you guys agree with that? There's so many that are also sellers. But remember, a lead is not going to call you and say, hi, I have a home to sell. I just want to let you know that. Bought it 3 years ago. I owe this much. Hoping to get this much in equity. I'll be reasonable, whatever I can get. And I am pre-approved. I don't have a realtor I want to buy this weekend. No one does that. Like, can you imagine? It's like walking into a bar. Hi, everyone, I'm single. I'm single. Anyone want a date? Are you single too? Are you? What about you? No one does that. It's like asking a buyer, are you pre-approved? Like the stupidest thing you can do. You're on the phone with a buyer prospect. You're on the phone 42 seconds. Are you pre-approved? That's the opposite. That's going into a bar. Hey, you single? Are you? Whoa, 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 whoa. You're not single? Whoa, stay over there. No one does that. But for some reason, realtors do that on the phone. And then they also ask, do you have a realtor? What the hell are you, the realtor police? When you got your license, you take an oath, I solemnly swear to never even walk by someone that's working with a realtor. Everyone knows a freaking realtor. Let's do this. We'll do an exercise right now. Ready? How many of you know a realtor? One of these times you should just trip me. How many of you know a realtor outside of your professional real estate life? Put your hands up. Okay. Do I need to say anything else? Everybody knows a freaking realtor. So when you say to a buyer, are you a realtor? No. Do you have a realtor? Do you have an agent? First thing they're going to do is, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Because why? They look at it like a shield to keep you away. So don't ask stupid questions like that. Instead, talk about what they want to talk about. What do buyers want to talk about, by the way? What's that? Properties, selection. They want a large selection. They want a good deal. They want it to be easy. By the way, what company in the world, Spyglass agents don't answer, you've done my training 50 times. What company in the world has absolutely nailed giving off a big impression that they have a large selection, they're really affordable, good prices, and they make it super easy? Thank you, Amazon. And what's happened to Amazon? They're selling shit all over the world. They got goats carrying goods into the mountains in India and Afghanistan. I mean, I don't know many companies that have goats delivering stuff. They do. That's better than trucks. So my point is, when you're on the phone with a buyer and you talk about the things that they want to talk about, now they are attracted to you. They're drawn to you. Instead of being like many realtors, do you have a pre-approval? Do you have a realtor? What do you give a shit if they have a realtor? Now, if they continue to bring up having a realtor, okay, at some point you're going to say, listen, you've mentioned having a realtor a couple of times. Is this someone you're under contract with, or blah, 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 and handle it that way. But don't invite it, because most of the time they're going to say yes to keep you away. Years ago, we came up with this like open house application or open house form for people to visit our open houses. And Dave, who's our senior vice president of sales, he created the form, and he's showing me, and I look at the form, I go, Dave, name, email address, do you want a list of area homes for sale? And then the bottom question, do you have a realtor? I go, Dave, what the hell are you asking that for? He started laughing. He goes, trust me. He goes, you'll see what I'm going to do. I said, no, I don't trust you. Why is that question in there? Just so we're clear, I don't trust if you're asking that question. He goes, I'm going to do it for 2 weeks. We have a handful of agents beta testing this with us, and then we'll change the question so we can prove to the agents how much people lie. I go, now I like it. So Dave gives this app to like 6 agents, and it's, name, email address, a list of area homes for sale, and then the last question, do you have a realtor? 61% of people said yes. They did it for 2 weeks in a row. Both times the average came out to 61. Fast forward to the next 2 weeks, guess what happened? They changed the question to, if you have a realtor, please fill in their name. Guess how many filled in their name? 11%. So 90%, or the other 50 between 61 and the 11, was lying. But they say that why? Because they want to keep you away. That's how people operate. Human beings have a natural reaction in the beginning to say no, to push people away. And you have to think about those things when you're on the phone with a prospect and understand that they're, of course, not going to say to you, hi, I'm ready to buy, I'm pre-approved, I don't have a realtor. No one does that. You wouldn't either. Okay? All right. Turn the page. I want to talk a little bit about pricing and price adjustments. Oh, Ryan, you stopping me? Okay. Pricing and price. I thought I said something wrong. I know I said like 9 things wrong, but that's okay. Pricing and price adjustments. I could spend 2 hours on this, but I want to hit some high points. Number 1. Well, let me start big picture first. This is one of the markets in America that has higher inventory right now. Not high inventory, right? You guys agree? Not high, but higher than it was 4 years ago, certainly. Okay. So there's some properties sitting on the market. You go to Florida, a lot of condos sitting on the market and not selling, especially the ones that are on the shoreline, okay? When you have a higher inventory, especially in the beginning of it, sellers don't believe it, because sellers are like, what do you mean? My neighbor just last year sold over asking, this friend sold over asking, that friend did, and it gets on people's nerves. And it's a challenging period of time to deal with. You guys are somewhat into it now. But the way that you go about your appointment, the way that you go about your warm-up to the appointment, all has an impact. So when I get people that say to me, hold on, is this my drink? You guys didn't roofie it or nothing, right? All right, cool. Just checking. When I get people that was a joke, by the way. You guys are supposed to laugh a lot harder than that. But anyway, whatever. So when you are meeting with a seller, the steps that you take from the time that you're on the phone leading up to the appointment and at the appointment all have an impact on the price that you get for the listing and the commission you charge. So when I get agents that say to me, hey, if I buy your training, am I going to be able to get some commission scripts in there? Owners usually say it. Are there like rebuttals when people object about commissions? And I say, yeah, of course. But getting the commission starts way before people ask about it. Getting the right price on a listing starts way before, like dramatically before. So it all comes down to how you're dealing with them on the phone, talking about what they want. Sellers are concerned about what? Two big things. One is money. What's the other one? Timing. Sellers are very concerned about timing. So if you're making notes on what buyers want and what sellers want, you should write that down. Money, timing, in that order. So when you talk to a seller and you talk about what they want and what they're concerned about, then you hang the phone up. You send an email confirmation with links and different things so they can learn about your company. You hopefully mail out some sort of home seller's kit so that they get to learn about you and your marketing long before the appointment, right? You send a calendar invitation to them, their husband, their wife, whoever is going to be in the meeting. You pre-call them the day before the appointment. Do you notice all the little things I'm mentioning? Let's be honest. How many people are doing every one of these little things? Very few. What most agents are doing is they're talking to the seller. Seller says, I want to sell my house. Okay, great. When do you need me to come over? Okay, Thursday at 3 o'clock? And in your head, you're like, my son's got a soccer game, or there's a training. Okay, I'll be there Thursday at 3. No. You're the doctor. They're the patient. They don't, the tail doesn't wag the dog. You set up the appointment at a time that works for you. Obviously have some flexibility and be reasonable. But when you're booking appointments with clients, if you're a brand new agent and you're overly eager and you want to be accommodating, it's easy to say, yeah, I'll be there at whatever time. But here's the thing. I don't give a damn if your schedule looks like this. You do not say to a prospect, a buyer or a seller, oh, I'm totally open. Tell me what time and I'll be there. This is what you do. Hey, let me check my schedule. Okay, I have 3 o'clock open. I have 2 o'clock open. Do you follow what I'm getting at here? So the way that you position to book that appointment, the way that you handle it in advance of the appointment, right? The things that you send in advance to warm them up, that makes it so that when you arrive at the home and you say, hi, nice to meet you, they hopefully, hi, Cindy, they hopefully look at you and say, I feel like I know you. Then you've done a good job. Now you're ahead of the competition. Then you walk through the home, you look all around the home, you're talking to them, you see things that maybe they should do to the home, but don't mention them at that time. Then you sit down with them at their kitchen table, dining room table, preferably try not to sit directly across from them, try to sit like on the corner, and you go over their goals. Where are you looking to move again? Why are you looking to move? And you talk to them. Now, the interesting thing about sellers is how many of you have been on an appointment and you're like, they didn't tell me all this on the phone. On the phone, they told me we might sell, maybe, possibly. You get in front of them, we have 90 days to sell, we're getting divorced. And you're like, what the hell, they didn't tell me this before. But that's why you have to go over goals again. And then when you're done going over goals, then you go through your presentation. When you're going through your presentation, your marketing presentation, you are talking about all of the things that will drive more money for them. If they're a sell-buy, you got to be careful. You talk about all the things that will drive more money, but you have to talk about timing. You have to talk about protecting them. You have to pull out that roadmap and navigate it correctly. Then when you get to the end of the marketing presentation, that is the point where you should say, if your decision was solely about marketing, would you be comfortable hiring me based on what I just went over with you? And if you don't get an overwhelming yes, then you do not go forward into the danger zone. Do you know what the danger zone is on a listing appointment? Pricing and commissions. Thank you. You got it. Pricing and commissions. Those two things are what stop you from getting listings. The reason that pricing is really the biggest one is the way that agents go about it. And I was the biggest offender. 2006, I was 25 years old. We're running television ads. I'm doing multiple listing appointments throughout the week. And I was the most blunt talking 25-year-old ever, way more than I am now. And yeah, he's like, yeah, right. So I would go on appointments and I'd go through the comparative properties. And at the end, I would finish going through them and I'd look across and say, so based on these comps, I recommend, and I'd give them a number. Stupidest thing you can do. Do not give them a number. If you give them a number, that number gets pinned to the back of your head and you are forever the agent who gave that number. If it doesn't sell at that number, you're going to get blamed. Or you won't even get hired because they'll say, well, the other agent told me X. And that's when you should say, well, are you hiring agents based on list price? Because if you are, why don't we just list it at $5 million? Right? Because they do that. Don't say the price. Instead, you go through the comps in a specific order. Okay? You go through them in a specific order. And when you're going through them, my recommendation is to start with the lowest comp first and go to the highest comp. And you go through them one by one. Come on up. What's your name again? Sasha, come on. Let's just sit right here. So Sasha's the seller. I'm the agent. Okay? We went through marketing. We talked about marketing. I asked you already, hey, if your decision was solely about marketing, would you be comfortable hiring me? We get past that. You say, yeah, that's great. Then we go through the comparative properties. Okay. Have you been on a bunch of listing appointments or are you a new agent? You have?
Yes.
So you know how they act?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to pull out the comps. There's a very specific way I go about this. And I'm going to show. So this is the first comp. This will be the lowest one. This will be a comp that is actually unreasonably low, but it's in the neighborhood. So when I show her that, she's going to immediately...
Oh, no. Find it. I have a quartz. It's great.
I know. And I noticed your chandelier is incredible.
Yeah, have you seen it?
I have, yeah. So, listen, I had to put it in because it's only a quarter mile up the street and the appraiser is going to include it. But I agree with you, your home's a lot better than that one. Okay? Here's the next one. Now, this next one is like the next level up, right? Let's say I want to price this home at $600,000. This one's probably $475 in the neighborhood. This one's $525. No, I'm too high. 500, 550, say, and then we keep going. And each one, she has a couple things to say. I show her the next one, you know, and then there's always a story. Oh, they're getting divorced. They sold it fast, right? All kinds of crazy things. Now, when I get to the last comp, I'm going to go over the last one with her. Oh, I preferably do not want the highest comp to be higher than I hope to list the home. Now, sometimes you don't have a choice because if it's freaking diagonally across the street, you have to show it or they're going to get mad at you and say, what about the one across the street? So normally, if I want to price this house at 600, I'm going to show comps that go maybe to 610, 620, but that's it. But let's say the one diagonally across the street sold at 650. I'm going to print every picture from that comp. And when I show it to her, I'm going to say, now, this one I actually decided to print all the pictures. And I just want you to take a close look. So, look at the kitchen, the backyard, right? Now, this is my nice way of saying this house is way better than yours, right? I can't do that.
But they're not nice people. I
right?
know them.
You know them? Yeah, yeah. But I can't do that. So instead, I point out every picture. Then when I get to the end of the comps, and again, this is like a 2-hour training, but I'm trying to go quick. I get to the end of the comps. This is where it gets very critical. So based on these comparative properties, where do you think your home fits in? You did a good job. So about half are going to say that. The more aggressive personalities are going to be more likely to say that. And what I'm going to say is, well, listen, I'm here to work with you to figure out the right price. Remember, I'm with you on this. You're not negotiating with me. I want to sell it for as much as possible, but based on, that stack of comparative properties, I'm curious where you think yours fits in.
I'm a nicer person than them.
You're nicer.
Yeah.
You think people are going to take that into account, right? So you're thinking 650?
Yes. We can try. We can test the market. Let's just
Okay.
Maybe for 3 to 6. You have to go a little lower.
So you, as a plan A, you want to list it at what, 650?
650, yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. When we look at this last comp, the one you're pointing to, do you think that, we look at their kitchen, right? They've got a 60-inch refrigerator.
But did you see my built-ins?
No, the built-ins are beautiful. In my head, I'm like, they're awful, right? But no, the built-ins are beautiful. But just look and then look in the bathroom. And this has 4.5 baths. By the way, there's a part I forgot. Totally blew it. So I have to confess. Whenever I go through the comps, I always point out how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many square feet. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many square feet. On every single comp. That's critically important because you want their focus to be on how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many square feet. So that way when they hit you with things like, did you see my built-ins? It's like, well, the built-ins are beautiful, no doubt, but an appraiser, they're not really going to take that into account as much. They're going to look at, at least the important things first. How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how many square feet? And your house is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. This one is 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and it's 1,000 square feet bigger.
It's backing to the car dealership.
No, not that one. That's a different one. Right? But listen, you got to know the neighborhood, and the stuff that you're doing, what you're saying is true, and people say that, and I'll finish up from here. But thank you. Ron, what's your name?
Sasha.
Sasha, thank you. But when I get to the end and I ask them, based on these comps, where do you think your home fits in? I want you to give it at least 2 tries of getting them to say the number. If they won't say the number, I could have stayed there with Sasha and went a little bit further. If they won't say the number, say a range. But the way that I say a range, I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to walk over to Sasha. The way that I say a range, I don't, watch how I do this. If she keeps pressing me, no, I want you to tell me, What do you think? Well, I think you're probably somewhere between this one and this one. Mm-hmm. Did I say a number? No. I never say a specific number. If I have to, I'll say a range. But what I instead did is, I think you're probably somewhere between here and here. And then if she keeps pressing, yeah, but I think it should be more, well, which one of these comps makes you think that it should be priced higher? Always make it about the comparative properties. Don't make it about you and your opinion. When you do that, you run yourself into trouble. Have that back and forth for 10 or 15 minutes. It's worth the time to get them down on the number. That's worth the time. Hopefully you get the right price. You list the property. If the property does not sell, now she was smart when she said, oh, I can wait 3 months, 6 months. We all know sellers say stupid things like that. If the house sits 3 to 6 months, it's not going to sell. I don't have to sell, I can wait. If I got a freaking dollar for every time a seller told me years ago, I will not sell unless I get more than X, and then literally 3 weeks later sold for less, I'd have so much more money. Am I right? The experience, let me ask. How many agents in here have been doing it more than 10 years? Okay, am I right? How many sellers say a number, they posture? People are full of shit, folks. Buyers are liars and sellers are worse. People say no all the time. It's true. But I got news for you folks. Ready? I'm going to offend everybody in the room. It's socially acceptable to lie to salespeople. Every single person in this room has fibbed to a salesperson. Every single person. It's completely socially acceptable. Am I right? Everybody does it. Oh, I'm so honest. You hear people, I carry myself with high moral character. I'm highly ethical. 5 minutes later on the phone with a contractor. No, we just decided not to do the project. We're not going to do it, but thanks so much for coming out. You hang up at your coworker. You're like, hold on, didn't you just tell me your bathroom's getting done? Yeah, it is, but I didn't know what to say. Oh, okay, right over their heads. Right over their heads. 5 minutes before, they were talking about how honest they are. They're full of it. And when you go about prospecting and sales, understanding that and not letting it bother you, you will do dramatically more business. People say no. People push back. People posture. It's all part of the game. All part of the game. I have employees in the company. I have agents in the company. We have 880 people total. Probably 400 of them told me they'd never come to the company. They said that initially. Push back, push back. That's what people do. So when you're listing the property, you need to make sure that you are very high touch. You're in touch with the seller, you're sending information, you're letting them know about feedback. So that way, when it comes time to need a price adjustment, it's not the first time you're reaching out. If you list a property and 2 weeks goes by and you have very little communication or no communication with that seller, and you, Anthony Lamacchia, 2006 them, hey, it's been 2 weeks, hasn't sold, I think we should make a price adjustment, they're going to hate you. But instead, you lead them there. You update them. You let them know what's going on, and you pull out the price targeting model. The price targeting model can be found on a very extensive price adjustment blog on lamacchiarealty.com that you can easily get by going to that QR code. First half of it's a bit lengthy with graphs and stuff specific to the Northeast. Go to the second half. You'll see this. This is gold. when you show this to sellers and you say, listen, if the price is on the money, we're going to get an offer. If we have showings but no offers, the price is probably off 3 to 5%. If we have people driving by, a couple of showings here and there, the price is probably off 6 to 11%. If it's drive-bys only, the price is dramatically off. You use that, you will get them to the right price. But the way that you get there initially and the way that you lead up to that is what matters. It'll make your life easier, okay? So keep that stuff in mind. Those are a couple of tips that I'm giving related to getting the right price and price adjustments. Every one of these topics I could have spent 2 hours on, but Ryan was insistent that, by the way, how about a round of applause for Ryan and his staff? For putting on this great event. I think it's terrific. And him and I spoke a few times the other day, and we talked about what I should hone in on, because there's a variety of topics that I speak on. And he said, Anthony, you should absolutely spend time on pricing and price adjustments. So in order for you to implement a lot of what I just said, you have to take action. And in life, there's people that take action and lead the way, and then there's people that watch the world go by and they're very good at complaining about it. And as I asked in the beginning, which one of those people will you be? I already know that you guys are action takers because you're here. And I know because I have my own event in Boston, February 13th. Last year we had 972 realtors, but there were droves of people that didn't come because they said, oh, that's a recruiting event. Like as if we're going to just lock everybody up in a room and force them to come over to our company. It's completely insane. But realtors and people like to put up limiting beliefs and things that make them say, I don't want to go to that because. Well, you guys already overcame that and you came out, and I congratulate you for that. You made a good business decision today. You're investing in yourself today. Today you are doing a money-making activity. And the more money-making activities you do, the more money you make. But now I want to go back to what I started with for my last, Ryan, when do you want me to stop? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? 10? Perfect. I want to go back. I'm going to grab my phone because I'm going to end with a video. But I want to go back to what I started with, which is time management. Folks, 1 year ago when I did keynotes and I spoke at my own events, I never said to anyone that, hey, I think the worst of the market's behind us. I think that the market's headed up from here. But I am happy to tell you all, as someone who's a major student of the market and someone who studies all the trends with inventory and everything else, I am very confident that the worst of this housing slowdown is behind us. Now, do I think that this year we're going to jump back to a normal amount of sales? No. Because a normal amount of sales in the United States is about 5.3 million home sales per year over the last 30 years. 2024, there was 4,060,000. 4,060,000 down from 5.3 million as the average, down from 6.1 million in 2021. That's a huge fall off. And that's a frustrating thing. But guess what, folks? You're still standing. You're still in business. You're still here. Okay? You're still here. And even if you can only do, and I talked to a lot of agents, I was doing 30 deals a year, now I'm doing 20. I'm stuck at 30. Folks, if you're stuck at a certain amount of sales over the last 3 years, congratulations. Because the market's gone down and you're stuck at the same amount. If your sales have gone up 5, 10%, but the market's down 20, then you're beating the market 20 to 25%. Be proud of yourself. If the market's gone down 20% and your sales are down 20, fine. You're in line with the market. It is what it is. Suck it up and now start making some shit happen. Okay? But a lot of it comes down to your focus, your discipline, your daily activities. Evaluate different areas of your life. What about the personal side? I usually stay away from this, but I'll touch on it. We have an agent in our company who had a really hard time making President's Club. And she reached out to me 3 or 4 years ago, and we had lunch. And she said, what do you think I can do different? And we went through different areas of her life. And one of the things that we got to is a house cleaner. She said, well, I got a house cleaner. They come once a week. I said, great. What about the week in between? Oh, I clean it. I said, okay, well, last year you got paid $180,000 on your 1099. How many hours a week are you working? So we broke down the math. I said, what do you pay the house cleaner? Oh, I pay the house cleaner, whatever the number was. I'm making it up because I don't remember. But let's say it was $100, right? I said, interesting. And how long does it take you to clean the house? 3 hours. I said, okay, so when you're cleaning the house, you're getting paid about $33 an hour, 33. But in your regular course of work, your hourly rate's like $60 an hour. So when you clean your home, you're losing 30. And she was like this. Can you explain this to my husband? I said, no, you can do that. She got a house cleaner. She also got one of her parents to help with pickup with one of her 3 children. Then she made some other changes in her business, in her daily activities. Guess what happened? President's Club, right? You need to look at your life and look at your time. Look at Elon Musk. People say to me all the time, I don't know how you do it. I follow you. I get tired just watching you on Instagram. And I'm like, really? You need some sleep then, right? Or they say to me, do you sleep? I'm like, yeah, I sleep every night. What are you talking about? But I've really mastered the art. I wouldn't say mastered. I've gotten very good at the art of really perfecting what I do all day and having an awareness of when I'm wasting time. Look at Elon Musk. Do you know anybody? The guy runs multiple multi-billion-dollar companies that he founded. Do you know how hard that is? Like him or not, that's beside the point. But talk about the ability to take advantage of every minute and every day. Every single one of us, including Elon, has the same amount of time in a day. He'll probably figure out a way to have more time. But we have the same amount of time. But where you spend it is the key. And as I said at the beginning, and if you hopefully downloaded that link, you'll see several videos that I've done over the years with respect to time management. And then we have actual courses on it. But that's the biggest theme that I wanted to touch on today. Because there's no doubt in my mind sales are going to start taking off again. A year ago, one of our agents down in Florida, I've known him for years. He had to get a second job. He's a nice guy, and how do I say this? He said, I need to go to work with my brother, half the schedule, blah, blah, blah. And then he came to me a year ago. He said, hey, I'm thinking of getting out of that and going full-time in real estate again. Should I do it? And I said, we'll pretend his name's Bill. Bill, I think you probably should wait another year. He said, Anthony, that's why I love you. I said, the market's still in a tough spot. This is a year ago. 2 weeks ago, I was with him in Florida. I said, Bill, now's your time to jump. So my point to all of you is, now's your time to jump. If there is something in your schedule, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's having the kids go to after school, and maybe you didn't do it for the last 2 years because you've been slower, so you had them come home with you. Great, good for you. Maybe it's investing in a monthly postcard to your sphere of influence, which you absolutely should do. Whatever it may be, those little things over the last couple of years that maybe you pushed aside, it's time to get going on those again. Because folks, I'm here to tell you, you are going to see the biggest real estate boom America has ever seen in the end of this decade. This year, I bet sales are up 5-10%. Next year, another 5 or 10. We get to 27, late 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. You're going to see the biggest real estate boom America has ever seen. 6.1 or 6.3 million sales that happened in 2021 will be blown away. You're going to see 8-9 million sales in a year at the end of this decade. And the question is, are you going to take advantage of it, or are you going to just let other people take advantage of it? Now we're in a situation that's very unique. Think about it. From 2012 to 2022, the market went up, 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 up. But by the time we got to like 18, 19, every year that the market was going up, the amount of realtors was going up too. Well, now it's gone the other way. Think about that. Now it's gone the other direction. The amount of sales are down, the amount of realtors went way down, and there's still many realtors in the business, but they also got other jobs, they get distracted. Now we're going to go for the ride up. Until we are about a year or two into boom times, which we're probably 2, maybe 3 years, I'm talking boom times, 2 to 3 years from, until we're a year or two into boom times, you're not going to see that amount of agents go up dramatically. Those years are going to be the years that you can make more money than you've ever made in this business. And I am telling you, we are about a year, 2, 3 years away from that. Where it's within that time frame. But you've got to get yourself in a position. You've got to grow your database. You need to be in touch with your clients and past clients. You need to influence your sphere. You need to do all of these little things on a consistent basis so that every single day you have business coming to you. And if you do that, you'll crush it in real estate, folks. All right? All right. What was the biggest takeaway today? Time management. Consistency, money-making activities. What else? All right, I'm going to go live on Instagram. Ready? Oh, there's no... The Wi-Fi is not good. Hold on. What's that? Trying to keep a crowd engaged and get my phone on Wi-Fi. I can barely do one thing at once, never mind two. All right, hold on. I'm going to give it a try. No, I'm not going to give it a try. I'm going to film it. Ready? And then I'll post it after. All right, here we go. All right, folks, here at the Realty Hack event put on by Mr. Ryden Rodenbeck himself. Who had a good time today? Who had a great time today? Who's coming back next year? We just spent an hour talking about many, many different things related to being a realtor, being more successful, and getting all of them prepared for what will be the biggest real estate boom that America has ever seen in the second part of this decade, and we are almost there. But one of the biggest things that we talked about today was time management. Managing your time and focusing on doing money-making activities and staying away from time-wasting activities. That is the biggest problem of most realtors. They spend all kinds of time doing stupid shit. Things they don't need to be doing, things that other people could be doing, instead of honing in on the things that really, truly matter. We went over that as well as many, many other things. This was a phenomenal audience. I thank you all. Great to see you all. That's all.